Oh, hello. You may not be able to tell this about me, but I am quite the Sonic fan. It's terminal. And man, what a time to be a Sonic fan between 2017 and 2022. They weren't necessarily dark ages, but man, was it confusing. This was around the time I started actually following gaming news. I mentioned in my DMC5 video that was the first game I was invested in leading up to release, but that was also before time had lost all meaning. A lot of games had development stopped due to the pandemic, and Sonic fans were getting a little impatient. Sonic wasn't at the best place at the time. While Forces wasn't horrible, that's all it really had going for it. And for sure wasn't the game that Sonic Team needed to re-establish faith. A lot of people had taken note that in terms of 3D, Sonic hasn't had a good game since Generations. Which is stupid. Sure, it was a long time, but there were only 2 3D Sonic games released between 2011 and 2021. Unless you count Sonic Boom. I don't count Sonic Boom. There was a long period of radio silence while Sonic was still doing well in the comics and movies. This is a game franchise, and everyone was waiting for the next game because nobody had any idea where they would go from Forces. And 2021 would be Sonic's 30th birthday, so it wasn't out of the realm of possibility to at least see an announcement. But even if they didn't, they still had things planned. There was a Sonic animated series coming to Netflix. At the time, the second Sonic movie was still upcoming. And they even made this little video thanking the community for being fans for what was that? That clip at the end. I recognize all the other ones, but this one looks different. At first I thought it was just colors, but looking closer, it's clearly new. This, not even half a second, had people going as nuts as you can go over less than a second of footage. But it was proof that there was a new game being worked on, and they had enough to make a snippet of a CG trailer out of. Then, later that day, Sonic Twitter announced the first Sonic Central, a small showcase of announcements for Sonic's 30th birthday. The showcase was pretty short. I don't think anyone expected a Nintendo Direct League presentation, but it had things like the 30th Anniversary Symphony, the announcement of Sonic Colors Ultimate, Sonic Origins was revealed, and what everyone was waiting in anticipation for, Sonic Mania on the Amazon Luna. But then, at the very end, they showed the first teaser for the next Sonic game, an extended version of what we saw in the Unstoppable video. Oh my god! It's Sonic! This teaser didn't show a damn thing, but if Sonic fans can speculate over half a second, just you wait until you see what they can do with 10. What's this symbol? What's this power behind Sonic? Is it the boost? And what's with this glow he has? People had a few theories. The stone symbols might have linked to something involving the temple from Sonic Adventure. Someone found that this symbol had meaning, and then someone else found out that they were both lying. Was this an adventure remake? Something related to colors? A Heroes-like game? What could it be? None of those. The images shown by news sites had file names that suggested the new game would be called Sonic Rangers. With all reference to this title removed eventually, this just raised more questions. Was it a team game like Heroes? Would Sonic's friends be playable? Will I stop asking questions I already know the answer to? No. It wouldn't be until the Game Awards that we would finally see more of what Sonic was cooking. Okay, so the beginning was just more of that same teaser, but oh my god, the world looks so vast. It's like a big set piece, perfect to run around freely in. They didn't show what was in the open world, but just imagine zipping across this map as fast as possible. If executed right, this could be a fantastic breath of fresh air for the series. The last thing shown in the trailer was Sonic facing up against this giant robot-like enemy. But before we even get a good look at it, the trailer ends by revealing the title of the game as Sonic Frontiers, set to release holiday of 2022. I can't wait that long. It's the third time I've been teased like this. I need to see more. Just because I have faith it's going to be good doesn't mean they can't fuck it up. Remember who's publishing this. In an interview shortly after this reveal, director Morio Kishimoto said that Sega wanted the game to release in 2021 to be an anniversary title, but the team decided that they needed more time to ensure a higher quality, and as we'll see, thank God they did that, because we got a glimpse of the alternate universe where Sonic Frontiers was released to here early, as on May 31st, we got another goddamn teaser trailer. This time for the IGN first gameplay footage of the game. This was the first glimpse of gameplay we got. We got to see some of the new combat, puzzles, and boss fights. And there would be more in the IGN first. There's no way this could be bad. It was bad. The world premiere gameplay on June 1st was abysmal. The world looked empty, there was terrible pop-in, the person playing was moving slow and not boosting pretty much at all. They were playing like someone trying to pretend to be bad at the game, and it just made the game look terrible. June was going to be a long-ass month, as the second part of the IGN first was only a couple days later. Hopefully the combat will be what was missing from last time, something interesting to do between all the running, so please be good. It was okay. Once again, the person playing didn't really do a good job of making the game look fun. They wouldn't chain moves together, often just straight up dropped combos, and it was just overall not that interesting. Like, surely there was more to the game than this, right? Well, they had better show us, because there was a Sonic Central on June 7th, where we finally saw what everyone was waiting for: Sonic Pez dispensers. And an animated story prologue featuring Knuckles. It lasted 9 seconds, it was only a sneak peek. At this rate, why even bother teasing it when the release could just be a surprise on its own? The story was something people were looking forward to, as it was being written by Ian Flynn, who writes the IDW comics. I've only read a handful of these, but I think they're pretty good, so I was on board with him writing for the games. But right after, we got a much better look at gameplay. It still wasn't a lot, but it showed things actually happening, and was overall just edit better than the IGN footage. What IGN showed looked like a lot of B-roll footage that was supposed to be edited down into a trailer, but instead was just released as is, but this small glimpse was actually interesting. That same day, a third IGN first hit the internet, this one being of First Impressions. This is the best one so far. Sure, it's using a lot of the same footage, but someone is actually explaining what's going on. The puzzles are filling out the map, the tone of the game is mysterious with ominous melodies playing while you explore, and Sonic is mostly alone on the island. This is also where we would find out that the team didn't consider the game open world, but rather open zone. This wasn't a vast world you could explore for hours on end, even though it totally is. Some things put in the world are just begging to be looked at, but they describe it as more akin to taking the multiple paths, tricks, and mechanics of a linear Sonic level and spreading that over a huge open area for you to experience in any way you want. It's not done flawlessly, however, as IGN mentions that things like rails and platforms just floating in the air is a bit jarring, not just because of the pop-in, but because they also contrast with the more natural art style and design in a way that didn't feel intended. And lastly, they explained that the premise of the game was Sonic and his friends being stranded and separated, with a voice guiding Sonic to find the Chaos Emeralds. They also mention linear stages that you can do, but they don't show any gameplay for them, so I guess it's up to our imaginations. Based on these impressions, while not without its faults, things were starting to look up for Frontiers. Not that it could have gotten much worse, but I remember being in the camp of optimism, and while the game hadn't shown me anything great, the potential was beginning to make itself clear. What combat moves could I chain together? How many ways could there be to get across the island? And what else could I tell myself to convince me that this game was gonna be good, damn it? Ultimately, I was excited by the idea of Sonic Team taking a risk and making this game completely different from what we knew before. Instead of playing it safe and delivering something underwhelming, they're experimenting and making it seem like a game that they want to make, as opposed to a game made to try to blindly appease fans during a time where liking Sonic was optional to be a Sonic fan. And there was one more IGN first about the open zone concept that was released a little over a week later. An interview with the director about the open zone, where he explains their goal to make the world feel like a playable hub world. Parts of the level that used to only exist in the background would now just be a different part of the zone, and that things like the puzzles wouldn't even be mandatory for progression. He also mentions that the game's runtime would be about 20 to 30 hours, which is a massive, massive far cry from the last few games. There's no way I could even finish it completely and get the Platinum Trophy in only 2 days. I would have to be some kind of loser. But after this, it would be a few months before we got to see more of Sonic Frontiers. It did get a spot in a Nintendo Direct Mini, which did show us things like linear cyberspace levels. It's Green Hill again. Fine, you know what, it's side content, this isn't that bad, but we also see the new character Sage, this red and black girl who we don't know anything about. We also see the Titan of the first island, and god damn he's big. Then in August we would finally get a new story trailer. Here we see Sage telling Sonic that whatever he's doing on the islands could be potentially world threatening, although all we see him do is save one of the Coco, these rock creatures, and then enter cyberspace. We see Amy trapped in this weird sphere, a decent amount of footage of the new island with new bosses, Sonic throwing hands with a child, and some strange corruption on Sonic's arm that seems to be making him weaker. Also another look at the Titan, who is still really big, and to top it all off, it ends with the release date of November 8th, 2022. There were people complaining that they didn't show enough gameplay in this trailer. Why? Not only is it a story trailer, but we saw a lot, all things considered. New moves, a new island, new enemies. The worst part was the release date. I want them to have as much time as possible to polish the game, but I also want it now! A few days later, we got an overview trailer that further explained the gameplay loop, story, and how everything on the islands interacts with each other. The premise is that Sonic, Tails, and Amy came to the Starfall Islands to investigate the disappearance of the Chaos Emeralds, when their plane is suddenly sucked into cyberspace, with Sonic being the only one to escape. So he needs to find his friends and free them from cyberspace. To do this, he needs to fight these bosses in the open zones called Guardians to earn portal gears. These will let you access cyberspace, short linear levels in the style of old Boost games. Then these cyberspace objectives would earn you keys which you would use to access the Chaos Emeralds. As the game got closer to release, playable demos would be at game shows, nothing too big, but that didn't stop people from glitching them to get way further than they were supposed to. These things were pretty popular, and many people agreed that what they had played was good. But there were still 2 months to go, and a lot happened in those 2 months. Firstly, the song Vandalized by One OK Rock was revealed to be the credits theme. Not all that interesting. But we also got our first listen to the game's main theme, I'm Here. Man, I listened to this constantly. Every time I would walk to work, I'd play this at least once. I was ready for this damn game to just come out already. And that feeling would get worse as there was a trailer 2 weeks later at Tokyo Game Show. First we got to see some gameplay from the third island, so we have grass, desert, and volcano. The 3 environments. There's a bit more footage from the second island, and a glimpse at the fight with the Titan. We see Sonic scaling the giant beast, and when he gets to the top, holy shit. A supersonic boss fight on what looks like the first island? What's Supersonic gonna play like with the combat system? Usually Supersonic just flies into the weak spot, but this time he's gonna be throwing hands? And are we gonna keep the emeralds when we go to the next island? Why isn't it November yet? Later in September, there was an episode of Tails Tube with Knuckles, with the end showing Tails telling Sonic about the Chaos Emeralds being drawn to the Starfall Islands. We also got a short showcase of most of the abilities in the game, such as the drop dash being a thing. We got a mix of a bunch of the cyberspace music, which was sounding good as is usual for Sonic. But on November 1st, we finally got the animated prologue focusing on Knuckles, Sonic Frontiers Divergence. Knuckles is back guarding the Master Emerald when Tikal guides him to Sky Sanctuary, where he finds a Coco Mask, portal gear, and cyberspace portal. When he goes into the portal, he's taken to the Starfall Islands, and after an attack from a Guardian, he wakes up in a similar prison we saw Amy in during the story trailer. Now, besides the fact that I think Knuckles could totally take this thing, things are getting more and more interesting. And Knuckles is finally back to questioning his life purpose, just like he should. There was one more trailer with some beautiful CG and more gameplay shots. It is looking so much better than it was during the beginning of the IGN first. We see some more open zone platforming, Sonic talking with Amy, but she looks like a hologram, some more cyberspace, and Big the Cat, we are so fucking back. This was the last trailer we got before the game would release, and at midnight on November 8th, I was there, ready to explore the new horizons of Sonic Frontiers.